It's one of the most award-winning studios on the planet. Pixar Animation, born with a short film about a lamp and a ball, and then came Toy Story, and then Bugs Life, and then Monsters, Inc., then Finding Nemo, then Cars, then Incredibles, then... The list goes on forever. I'm exhausted. Strap in. Pixar opened its exclusive doors to us, to the studio, so we can take a look. Welcome to Pixar Animation Studios, as marked by Luxo. That is what started it out. That short film won the Academy Award and launched the most Academy Award-winning studio in all of Hollywood history. The original Emeryville campus. These hallowed grounds. I wish you could see. Typically, that rack is full of Oscars, but it's so full now they had to move it to the other campus. We'll get to know that a little bit later on. In the meantime, just check it out. This is where the right and the left come together to eat and to use the bathroom. Like, it's even joyous to use the bathroom at Pixar Animation Studios. And Bobby, hey, hold on just a second. Over by Woody, it's Bobby Podesta. It's one of the senior animators. How are you?
Nice to see you. How are you doing?
If I'm not mistaken, you were actually trying to hide the moment you saw me come in.
Maybe, but it's great to see you anyways.
All right, don't be shy. So Bobby has been here from the get-go. You were with Pixar pretty much before this building was built.
I was here before this building was built. That's true. That's true. I was here on day one when we moved into this place.
All right, we could talk about Bugs Life, but since you're next to Woody, I don't want to be rude. We're going to segue right onto Toy Story. You worked heavily on Toy Story 2. What's your earliest memory of that?
My earliest memory of Toy Story 2 was, us actually... It took a lot of work. You heard the stories. It wasn't in great shape.
Right.
Like, this film has to be up to our standard. We went all in. We doubled down. We redid that whole film in like 9 months.
And there's a reason it's so award-winning. I went behind the scenes and on the red carpet to the original premiere where a lot of random people showed up, and because I'm a simpleton, I just talked about toys.
When you were a little kid, what was your favorite toy, the one that you could not separate with?
Well, I really liked Mr. Potato Head. Mr. Potato Head was really great because you got a chance to play with your food.
I loved my microscope. I loved taking things apart and looking at them.
We didn't have toys. We were kind of poor. But somebody gave me this little book of Rumpelstiltskin.
So Major Matt Mason was your favorite toy. Do you still have a Major Matt Mason?
I wish I did. Although I don't go into this whole toy collecting thing. If I had a Major Matt Mason, I would be playing with him all day long. I wouldn't keep him pristine up on a shelf where nobody could touch
Your
it.
work would suffer.
Well, Major Matt Mason would suffer after a while, because sooner or later that wire inside it busts, and what are you going to do?
Did you have any idea that you would still be talking about Toy Stories 3 and Toy Stories 4 all these years later?
I didn't. I knew the films were great. I knew the films were loved by people. I love the fact that, folks want to come see these characters again.
Right.
Toy Story characters. They want to see Inside Out characters.
Right.
They want to see the Cars characters.
Who would have thought a fork would be one of the most popular merchandising items that Pixar would produce?
You beat me. It's a toy. It came to life. It's a character in our films. It's fantastic. And, the voice of Forky was pretty great.
Yeah, Tony, you can't do neurotic better than Tony. And we talked about it. Take a look.
Do you mind that you play neurotic, that you will be
it.
We need somebody neurotic, and it's
I love it.
All roads.
And I relate to Forky. He's kind of overwhelmed. I'm very overwhelmed to be here. He's like, why am I here? I'm like, how did I get here? It's all that stuff.
It's some existential stuff going on with this plastic fork.
Well,
Spork.
Yes, exactly, Spork. And he, this franchise alone is so iconic. So it's like, I think I have that same, oh my gosh, I can't believe I'm here.
He's the new voice of fear in Inside Out 2, and who knows, he just pitched another character that he wants to play, so we'll see if that happens. All right. I know you got to get back to work. Thanks for hanging out.
Great seeing you.
All right. You mentioned Monsters, Inc. You mentioned Finding Nemo. So coming up next, we're going to talk about the other Pixar films, not necessarily in chronological order, but we'll be talking about all kinds of stuff, including Monsters, Inc., including Finding Nemo, when the Take a Look Pixar special continues. Don't move.
Whales don't eat clownfish, they eat krill. Oh, look, krill!
Welcome back to our half hour on Pixar. It is Take a Look. Thanks for hanging out from the Pixar Animation Studios in these hallowed halls that have so many Academy Awards. They had to build a whole new building to house them. In the meantime, I want to talk about a movie that I love. It's near and dear to my heart. What Pixar movie in 2001 won the Academy Award for Best Song? Hint, I'm looking at it right now. Mike and Sully, it is Monsters, Inc., one of my favorite movies. There's not a day that goes by that I don't quote this guy when he goes, I'm on TV. Mike, brought to you by the voice of Billy Crystal. I had a chance to talk to him about it, and I found out the origin of the character. Take a look.
Where do you start to get the voice of this guy?
You start with how he looks, and they sent me a tape when John called me and said, take a look at this guy. So I see this little guy walking around. He's doing lines from movies. They took some audio from films that I was in. So I already had my voice in him.
Oh, okay.
But then I watched his mouth and his eye and his hands, and I said, I think I don't want to sound like me. I'll be freer if I get into a character type voice. So it was a guy I did on Saturday Night Live who was a masochist named Willie.
I hate it when that happens.
That was it.
That was the genesis?
So that was the voice, face, like that. So then I can move. I'm already freer than me.
Sure.
So then the mouth moves, and then the stuff, and then they animate to my movements, and they videotape you while you're doing it. So I felt really comfortable with that voice. I thought it was the right voice for him. It made me faster, quicker. I actually felt when I was in that voice that I looked like that. So it was like putting on 6 or 7 hours of makeup, and then I just was him all the time.
I love mostly how Billy Crystal's face, like everybody else, starts looking like his character when he does the voice, and I'm not crying. You're crying. My favorite moment of the movie, the most emotional moment of the movie, which, by the way, is my favorite moment of all Pixar movies, that emotional moment that brings it real when Boo and Sully say goodbye for what you think is the last time. I hope I'm not plot spoiling. Oh, there it is. As we move on, the Pixar train arrives at Finding Nemo. Oh, how gorgeous do those LCD screens look when you're watching this movie under the sea. Lucky Finn. I love all things Nemo. Brad Garrett is the voice of Bloat. There's so much of this interview that happened right on the other side of this wall that I can't show you. I can barely show you this.
Your cohort, Ray Romano, has re-signed, and he evidently got big bucks. And I know the Friends cast, it was kind of favored nations. They held out for each other. Did he hold out for you to make sure that you got some Skrilla?
Ray wouldn't give you ice in the winter. He's a lovely guy. I just hope he takes the money and gets in an acting class. No, it didn't trickle down. And look, I'm very thankful to have a job, but for the cast, he doesn't care.
I understand.
He shows up, you tell him how brilliant he is, and you go have lunch. That's really all I do on the show. But he deserves it, and I'm happy for him. And look, he's got $50 million. I'm Bloat the pufferfish. You decide, pal, where do you want to be in your life?
That guy makes me laugh and makes me want to call 911 kind of all at the same time. I love my Brad Garrett. All right, also in this movie, of course, Ellen brought to life Dory in this and another movie we'll talk about in a moment. But in the meantime, about 100 feet that way, here at Pixar, I talked to her about this movie and sushi.
What about the fish? Are you going to be able to eat the fish after being in a cute movie with fish?
I don't think so. I'm not going to be able to eat the fish. I'm going to play a movie where I'm ice cream, so I don't want to eat ice cream. That's what I'm going to. The next animated, it's a pint of Haagen-Dazs that just walks around and has feelings and.
Is that what's in development?
By the way, that's my space work.
So funny, and you couldn't see in that interview, but I said, sequel, we got to have a sequel. I got to find out what's going on with Dory, and lo and behold, over a decade later, that came to life, of course, with Finding Dory. Had a chance to sit down with her, along with Ed O'Neill, to talk about your viewer questions. Take a look. Will you take a question from a viewer?
Oh, yes.
Here we go.
Hi, Ellen. My name is Lila Carter, and I'm from Roseville. I cannot wait to see you Finding Dory. What was my question?
Take your time.
Yeah. I forget a lot of things like Dory. Do you have any suggestions how to remember things?
Well, first of all, what's her name? She's adorable.
That is Lila.
Oh,
from
Lila.
Roseville, California.
Lila, you're adorable. Listen, I forget things too. I'm like Dory. I forget all kinds of things. And you can write things down if it's really important. You can write things down. That's one way to remember. You can write things on your hand, and you pretend like you're just like, oh, and then like that, and you know what's going to happen.
You do that on your show?
No.
Okay.
No. But you can have a cue card person, follow you around. If she could hire a cue card person.
She could have an assistant?
Yeah. You should hire an assistant who tells you things.
Sure.
There's plenty of things.
It's largely the reason I'll never eat sushi again. I love Dory, I love Nemo, I love everything under the sea, largely because of Pixar Animation Studios and those two movies. Coming up in a moment, think Pixar can't compete with superhero movies? Think again, the most incredible franchise within the franchise, Incredibles. We'll be talking about that. Also, designed and destined for merchandising. We're talking about Cars. It launched yet another franchise within the franchise. And then last but not least, my favorite movie to cry on and laugh on is Up. We'll catch up with the cast and the legendary Ed Asner next.
Please let me in.
No. Welcome back to our half hour dedicated to all things Pixar and Pixar Studios from Pixar Studios. Oh, hey, Incredibles, that's Tasha and Josue. Josue, that's the Incredibles. In 2004, they changed the game. Let's talk about them for a moment. Excuse me, family, while we come over here. This movie won the Academy Award. It also won the Academy Award not only for Best Picture, but also for sound editing. And my favorite part is this guy, Mr. Frozone. Now, something incredible happened when I went behind the scenes of the movie. I wanted to talk to Sam Jackson, and Sam Jackson said, "Oh no, you want to talk to the inspiration?" And I said, "Heck yeah," and this happened.
You thought about your next project?
Next project? The Incredibles is a movie. Frozone is real. Best way to see me in action is to be someplace that needs justice. You know how to spell justice. Just ice.
I know that was cool, right? I don't know how they do it. Pixar can do anything they want to do, right? All right, family, I have to leave you alone yet again because right now I've got to talk about gear-shattering, ground-pounding Cars action. Cars, yet again, a Pixar franchise that rue the day again and again and again.
Whoa, I know I get that reaction a lot.
Do your kids get the fact that you are this guy? And is it cool to them, or do they take it for granted?
You know, I feel like they kind of take it for granted a little bit. And, you know, I know that my dad would get kind of frustrated with us sometimes trying to, you know, teach us things, and you'd kind of feel like it goes in one ear and out the other. And now I kind of feel that sometimes with my kids, and then all of a sudden you'll see them do something, you're like, wow, maybe they are kind of taking it in.
Wow, I love Owen Wilson. What I love about him most is that he talks so slow, but Lightning McQueen is so very fast. Ka-chow! Hey, look, my other favorite Pixar movie. And look, I would be remiss if I didn't say right now, I know about every 5 minutes I'm saying, and my other favorite movie, they're all my favorite movies, okay? Get off my back while I talk about Mr. Fredricksen. I love this character because I love the guy behind him. Ed Asner, the former president of the Screen Actors Guild, gruff on the exterior, just like Lou Grant, and just like Carl, but on the inside, a softie. We talked about his favorite thing about the character, kindness. Look.
Congratulations on this.
Thank you very much.
This guy. What about it do you relate to? What's your spirit of adventure there?
He's a good man. That's the most important thing. He's a fine man. He reclusive, doesn't try to inflict on others, and doesn't want to be inflicted on himself until that little kid comes into her life.
Love that guy. And a special moment right now because the first time I met that guy was literally on the other side of that wall, right on the other side of Mike and Sully over there here at Pixar Animation Studios. All right, we're not done. Before we wrap this up, coming up in a moment, Inside Out 1 and 2, we'll talk to Amy Poehler and the rest of the cast. Coco will go behind the scenes with the legendary talent behind that, bringing the voices and where they are now. Along with that, the lady power of Turning Red, and then finally, Tom Holland and Chris Pratt as our Pixar Take a Look half hour continues next. And welcome back to Pixar Animation and our animated special dedicated to all things Pixar, Pixar Beauty, Pixar Love, Pixar Academy Awards. Speaking of which, 2015, Inside Out took it. Want to know why? Amy Poehler and the cast was brilliant. If I could go back to that movie, the original voices of fear and disgust were Bill Hader and Mindy Kaling, and we talked about stuff you can't talk about. Look.
Yeah. What's the first time you felt disgust?
I think like disgusting, and I think that
I'm not saying general things that disgust you.
What is happening? I'm not gonna say it. They're losing control. The ship is going down.
Want to know what they said? I can't tell you. Want to know why? It brings me too much anxiety. Speaking of anxiety, let's segue on to Inside Out 2. Anxiety, all new character, Maya Hawke brings it lovely, as does Joy, reprised by Amy Poehler. We talked about that with no anxiety. I mean, without the exception of anxiety was present. Just look.
Being called up to the Pixar table, what does that mean?
Oh, God. I mean, I've been a fan of these movies my whole life, as basically, I think, every single living person. And it just means the world to me. I mean, this movie in particular, the first movie, really changed the way that I thought about my own brain. You know, it changed the way that I could explain and articulate my emotions to other people. and it opened up the world a little bit. And so to get to be a part of that for this next chapter, this puberty chapter, which is such an important chapter in developmental years for young people, it just means the world to me.
What I love about it, I took my younger kids to go see the original, and now to take them to this one, and they're a huge fan of Anxiety because they know Anxiety all too well, as all young millennials do. For you, with the kids, how does it feel to keep this product going?
Yeah, it's so great. We've had so many people come up and say, I saw the first one 10 years ago. It's not been an easy 10 years for anybody.
No.
I love that Pixar is not gaslighting us. They're really taking into account that this decade has not been an easy one. Yeah. And the people that were young when they saw the first one have had 10 years now to experience life. So I've had a lot of young people in their 20s talk about how they really need this movie right now. And so to be a part of something like that's awesome.
When I was 13 years old, embarrassment and anxiety filled the room. In fact, that's all you'd see inside my head. What was the 13-year-old you? Who was there? Sorry. Quite a long question.
Do you have a while? It made me think about what you just said, made me think about that moment where embarrassment lays on top of the console, and then sadness goes and is like, oh, I got you, big guy, and puts her hand down, and finishes the whole console together. And because that moment made me laugh and just felt so true that shame will fill you up and whatever parts it can't reach get filled with sadness. Yeah. And so I feel like probably when I was 13 years old, sadness, embarrassment, anxiety, and maybe a little joy somewhere. Right. Little joy was somewhere to doing her best, fighting through all that.
I love that moment.
I know. This friendship between embarrassment and sadness is a really unexpected friendship.
I love it.
I promised I wasn't going to cry, but
we'll get
seeing
you.
Anxiety and joy hanging out together in harmony makes me so happy.
Yeah, it's got to happen.
Thank you.
So funny. And I love that movie. I love that audiences are loving Inside Out too right now as I speak. Excuse me, am I bothering you? Look, I didn't really get your permission, but can I put you on camera for a moment? Excuse me for a moment while I introduce Miguel. All right, segue on to Coco, since he's conveniently located right here. My favorite thing about that movie is that Anthony Gonzalez was pretty much this age when he did the voice. I caught up with he and Benjamin Bratt to talk about it and the songs. Look.
You make me un poco loco, un poquitito loco. The way you keep me guessing, I'm nodding and I'm yesing. I'll count it as a blessing that I'm only un poco loco.
Hey, now that is a sample.
And that's a true performer.
And you?
Ain't gonna happen, brother. Hey, you got a mixing board?
All right.
We gotta sweeten up the sound a little bit.
Got it.
I did record all my own songs, but we gotta sweeten it up.
One of the most beloved movies of all time, Coco, very much deserved the Academy Award. Moving along to Onward, Academy Award nominated. It's the story of two brothers and two people who know a lot about brothers because they both have brothers. In fact, Tom Holland has 30 of them. We talked.
My sons are the exact same ages of these characters.
Oh.
And the relationship not too dissimilar.
That's so nice.
Nice.
That's amazing. I have a brother, you have brothers.
Yes.
This is a film very much about brotherhood, and it's really, really beautiful. And I think that anyone who has a brother, and even if you just have a sibling or in a relationship at all, but there's a specific relationship between brothers that this movie speaks to.
Yeah, and you've got 50 brothers, don't you?
Yeah, I got a lot of them, yeah.
So when you get the script dropped in your lap and you're thinking, not only do I want to do this, I get this guy.
It was interesting for me, actually, because I'm the oldest brother of all four of us, so it was quite nice for me to have an older brother. It was a bit of a change of pace for me to suddenly switch from being the one who's supposed to know what's going on.
Yeah.
Which actually in many cases is not the case. My brother Harry, really kind of the oldest brother.
Oh, okay.
Without him, we're like his sheep, and he is the shepherd.
I love it, and I agree. If you have brothers, sure, it's going to touch you that way, but I think if you have a pulse, this movie is going to make you laugh and cry relentlessly throughout.
Absolutely.
I'm so excited to see it, man.
All right, dynamic duo right there. And as I did talk about the movie being about brothers, it's also as much about dealing with loss, and it will make you cry, but also a great educational tool. So like every great Pixar movie, and every Pixar movie is indeed great, you're going to learn something, you're going to laugh, and you are going to cry. All right, turning now to to Turning Red. You want to talk about an amazing movie. You know, a lot of Pixar movies are sort of inspired by Northern California, the San Francisco Bay where they are. This movie specifically brings Toronto to life in a very Pixar-y way. I love that about it. I also love the lady power behind it. Caught up with the cast and crew at the San Francisco Zoo. Take a look. We're in the San Francisco Zoo, and they just named a panda after your character.
Oh gosh, I ever since I started with this project, I wanted to meet a red panda, and to actually have a panda named after my character is such an honor.
You're so cute! Sick. I've always wanted a tail. I'm a freak. We love you, May. You're our girl.
I have a daughter, and then to see both the character being so strong and forward, and then behind the scenes, very woman power.
Yes, it's the first time actually at Pixar history that we've kind of had a primarily female or entirely female leadership team. And it's not something we intended to do, but we felt it making this movie, this kind of shared experience, this like boldness in storytelling that even if we were going to second guess some of the choices, we had a bunch of women in the room going, no, go further, make it more cringy, make it more awkward. I think you really see it in the finished product.
Watch Turning Red because it is funny, it is surprising, it is cringy, and it'll make you remember what it's like to be 13 again.
OMG!
You will never look at a red panda the same way ever again. Turning Red, among the greatest of all Pixar movies. And by the way, again, I've said that about every time. I'm a fan. I know you are too. That's why I'm telling you to like and subscribe. Let's talk about movies I forgot about or what you're looking forward to next time we talk about Pixar on Take a Look. In the meantime, from the Pixar campus, as the credits are rolling, I'm just going to hang out by the lamp and wait till the sun goes down and try my best to lift it and steal it. All right? See you. There goes the spine.